time.
Here we go, another Square Dance Callers Talking. Tonight, I have a gentleman. He is in Arizona, Tucson, Arizona, to be exact, I believe. Tonight, I have Dean Singleton. How are you, sir?
I'm well. How are you, Charlie?
I'm doing very good. I appreciate you doing this with me, man. We've never had the opportunity to meet before, and in the time that I've been calling and everything. So let's talk all about you tonight. You're in Tucson, Arizona, correct?
Correct.
All right. So you're born and raised in Arizona, or what got you there?
I was born in Indiana, but I was raised in Minnesota. You had interviewed Dan Selstrom. Dan started a year before I started.
Okay.
So he started in 78, I believe. I started in 79.
Okay, gotcha. So for a few minutes we talked, when did square dancing start for you?
Square dancing started when my parents, they danced actually before I was born. And when, for whatever reason, they dropped out. But they had a caller friend in New York, White Plains, I believe, who actually encouraged them to get back into square dancing. And they did that, I believe, in the late 70s. I'd like to say 77, 78, somewhere around there. It was very common back in the late 70s to have social parties, to invite square dance friends and the like to your house. And during, like, having some mixed drinks or a beer or, dinner or playing cards or whatever, it was common to play square dance music in the background. And back then it was, Chaparral and Rhythm and Blue Star. And there was 100 labels back then. There really were. I think they actually danced too. I think a couple times they had enough people over and had a square, and they would dance to these records. So that was pretty neat. I was a little unusual as a young teenager in the fact that I was able to get along with any age group. So I befriended all these, and get this, these people were in their probably 40s at the time. The young ones.
Yeah, that's.
But they would eventually invite me to a square dance. They kind of bribed me. They told me that all the farmers' wives, because this was in Minnesota, all the farmers' wives are, make cakes and pies and sandwiches, and when you're a teenager, food talks a lot. So
It does.
went to the event, and of course I didn't know how to square dance, but I just watched. And I was not sold on the dancing, but I was sold on the friendship, because those same people that were at my parents' house, I knew them, and I felt like kind of like friends already.
Right.
And so I was that kind of attached me into the activity. It pulled me in, I should say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So about how old were you when that started? When you said you were in high school doing that?
Yeah, I was 14.
14. Okay.
And it was so where's the national next year?
National next year is Texas.
No.
Oh no, national. Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
There you go. That was my first experience at square dancing.
Wow. Okay.
In 1979, 4 days prior to the national convention, my parents had the bright idea of giving me a crash course in square dancing. So they got a square together out in our garage, and when we had back in that day, you didn't have cell phones, you didn't have Taminations, you didn't have computers, you didn't have Saddlebrook videos. You had sets in order, and it was a publication that was about yay big, and it was in black and white. You might have been able to get it in color but I think the pictures on inside, just because, you know, they're trying not to spend a lot of money on the publications, they were in black and white. And the pictures were small, Charlie. They were real small. They would take you from, you know, one point and then the next point and move you through it on a visual point.
Right.
So, and I'm an artist, so I'm much more of a visual person than I am like a technical, you know, I can read analytical writing and stuff like that. I took that, we learned how to do it in the garage, and then I believe my sister had learned too, and we went out to Milwaukee, and I was pretty much all in the teen hall. And I had I had my name badge, right? But I also had a badge that said free yellow rock lessons. And I barely knew what a yellow rock was, you know?
Yeah.
But let me tell you, Charlie, I was reminded what that was, because I had all these pretty young girls coming up to
Very
me,
nice.
giving me hugs. And I'm thinking, all right, square dancing, not too bad.
That's great.
So, the end of that, and you know, at national conventions, we dance on these cement floors and
Sure, concrete.
Yeah. We're dancing in these hockey, where they play hockey and where they have big concerts and stuff. And they can't afford to lay down, you know, flooring for us. But I have to say, even at 14, my feet they blistered beyond belief.
Yeah.
So what saved me, but this is a pretty cool story, because back in that day period, remember, what kind of beds could you get? Do you remember outside of like a standard bed you'd get now?
Was it the air mattress?
No.
No, sofa bed.
Well,
The sofa bed was the worst with the bar running through the middle of it.
water beds.
A water bed. I had one in high school.
So this vendor at the Milwaukee National Convention sold water insoles, water gel or gel insoles or whatever, you know, they were some liquid inside, you know, I guess it was gel maybe, but I put them on and wow, that saved my butt. You know, back then I was wearing cowboy boots a lot.
Sure.
And yeah, I don't wear cowboy boots anymore. My feet can't handle it. But yeah, that was my experience. Getting into square dancing was that convention. I was hooked.
So, at some point, you decided to start calling. How'd that come about?
It came about. I had my parents danced in Rochester, Minnesota, to a caller named Jack Eigel. I don't know if Jack's living anymore. He's not calling anymore. I think he moved down to Texas. And it kind of shocked me because very good caller, but he took me under his wing, and I don't know how it came about. You know, we talked about me getting in front of the stage and entertaining people, but I agreed to do a singing call, and December 19th, 1979, about a half year after I learned how to dance, I started calling.
Very nice.
And I did Wave Drivers, Boogie Grass Band.
Boogie Grass Band. That's still around, man. I still hear that when I go places.
Do you? Yeah.
So you evidently like calling. When did you start doing your own dances and start going out on your own?
Well, I started out on my own. Probably, I got a club in 1980.
That's it. Okay. So you were calling.
I had two clubs. I had a teen club, and I had an adult club that I called for, I believe, twice a month. And so I learned a lot, and I immediately, I think that summer of 80, I went to Don Williamson's collar school up in the Twin Cities. And to this day, I obey some of the things that he taught in that collar school. One of which would be how to make your dance flow,
Okay.
and how to build a dance, and how to make sure that you don't want to have every singing call a driver, right?
Yes.
You want to I mean, I believe it was sort of like your first song could be a kind of a clickish type of novelty type of number,
Right.
because people talking and something maybe other callers haven't done yet, or something that's brand new where they haven't heard it yet. And the second one would be a driver, because you want to that's kind of the mood of the dance, is the second, is how he put it. Third tip, not as much of a driver, but still probably a medium. And then the fourth tip, you slow it down. And then the fifth tip, you bring it back up, and it's kind of the ebb and flow.
That's very nice.
From that caller school, that's one of the many things that I got out of that, and I still apply today. And I've listened to your podcast, and I remember Dan talking about Dee Dee, how she can go back and every singing call, I can do the same thing, because just about every dance, I program my dance before I go to it. I program what I'm going to call. So when I get up there, I'm not fumbling through, wasting the dancer, coming up with what I'm going to do.
That's a really good tip. I do that. I've got a buddy down here that we started calling about the same time, and we'll do that. I call every first and third Thursday for my club, and that's my regular, not counting if I get something on the weekend or something like that. But I'll sit down about 3 days out, and I'll put together my set list with my patter and my singing calls, and I'll take a picture of it on my phone and send it to him. And I'm like, "Here's my set list, man. What do you think?" And he'll do the same thing. So, and then I'll
cool.
even if it's a singing call that I've done at this point 50 times over the years, I still will sit down for about 10 minutes and go over it again, just because hey, I haven't done this in 2 months, and I want the timing to be as close as I can. But I had to learn that what you were talking about, how you start out, bring them up, let them come back down, bring them up, the dancers, because I just wanted to go in, and I don't know if you've watched any of my actual the stuff I post, the actual videos of me calling. I love 80s, and if I can get anything fast and hard and loud, Leonard Skinner and all that, I will do it. And if people are just like, "I mean, you got to cut that back. You got to throw in." So I do Beth from Kiss on one of the record labels. So I try and go up and down now. So when you're so I like to talk about stuff like that, the programming the dance minus a theme. Like, say if somebody hires you and they have a theme, hey, it's a beach night. I understand you got to try and kind of look around and find your beach stuff or whatever. How would you just go into a weekend where somebody said, hey, come in, just do what you do, Dean? And how do you set up your dance programming it?
Well, the first thing is I picture who's going to show up in my dance.
Okay.
So if I just called the previous night and I know that dancer is going to come to my next dance, I'm going to change all the tunes.
Very good. Okay.
I'm a little anal that way. I want that experience for that dancer to feel like, yeah, this was a completely different dance. Not like, oh yeah, I heard him do that last night.
Right.
I'm one of I produce music, but I buy a lot of music, and I'm constantly searching for. So I think it's because I get bored, to be honest with you. A lot of the great tunes that I did for 30, 35 years, I don't do anymore, because although they're great tunes, I just personally, if I'm bored with it, I feel I'm not going to come across as sincere, and I'm not going to enjoy it. So if I'm not enjoying it, I think that comes across a little bit. So there are a few that I do because people ask, but
You know, I got in when I first started a few years back. I forget what record label it's on, but it's Jambalaya is the song, and that was like the first song that I ever did, and I think I do it quite well. And my wife was like, "Hey, it's a really good song," but that she called that my crutch. Every time somebody would say, "Hey, come up and do a tip at my dance," I was pulling Jambalaya, and the dancers liked it. And then she finally said, "You know, you got to put that away for a while." But I still will have people come up and say, "Hey, can you do Jambalaya?" I'm like, "Sure."
Yeah.
You know, growing up when you would go to concerts, I'm a huge Metallica fan and what have you, but you go to Metallica and you're like, come on, play one, play one, play. And I'm like, they have got to be so tired of playing that. And I see it now in the little bit that I do. So I understand that, you know, you still want to have that passion when you're doing a singing call, whether it be a fast, or they're all basically the same speed, but if it's a slower tempo, slower pace, or something that's going to drive, that's awesome, man. Your record label. Tell me about your record label.
Arrowhead, I started it in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
The goal of, you know, it is an ego thing. I think the reason that I really wanted to is to do it was it would help my creativity, and it helped me release some of that creative juices that I have constantly. Either I'm drawing, or I'm calling, or I can write as well. I've written before, but mostly I draw, I call, and then the producing is something that's really cool because you have all these different facets. I don't know if people realize this, especially callers I'm talking to right now, but the process isn't easy. The first one is picking the song, and song selection is the biggest hurdle, because if you pick the wrong song, you know, you're already up the wrong, you're heading up the wrong hill. But if you pick a song that has an opportunity, right, one of which that maybe hasn't been done yet, or if it's been done, can you change the arrangement? Can you make it sound different than the original one? Can you make it better? And that's the biggest question. Can you make it better? I think a lot of callers, some of my mentors that I look up to have told me time and time again, just because you can do a song doesn't mean you should do the song, right? I mean, there's some songs I could name right now that I would love to produce, but I just won't, because it wouldn't make a good square dance version, right? But I do try to get a lot of national callers to record for me, because I feel I don't have the best voice. I have an okay voice, but these callers are more well known too, and more of the average caller around the United States and internationally will more or less listen to it more if it's someone that's well known, as opposed to moi. So I'm very selective about some of the calls that singing calls that I will put vocals on. But the first part is picking the song. So you have to pick a song that's right around anywhere from, I would say, in my humble opinion, anywhere from 116 beats per minute to about, I'd say you might get away with 132, 136.
Yeah.
But then you have to, for square dancing, we dance around 126, 122, 24 on an average, I would say. So generally, if it's, you know, if you're talking 136, you're going to have to slow it down. So if you slow it down, Charlie, does that take away from the integrity of the song? Is it sound too different? And the same thing goes true if you speed it up. Now, or is it sound like Mickey Mouse?
Yeah.
So, and then another part you have to think about is your target market right now, unfortunately, you know, we have to say probably the average age is a 70-year-old caller.
Sure.
And it's a 70-year-old male caller that I'm targeting to. And I know there's a lot of females out there, and I appreciate you very much, but I'm just saying what my general target market is, because that's the majority of the callers out there right now that are buying music. You have to think about, would they sing that call? You know, is it too flirtatious? Are the lyrics decent? I mean, as far as you know, I mean, we don't have to really discuss this, but
no, I understand. I know.
Is there like is the words appropriate for square dancing? Would they be able to sing the song? Is it too hard of a song to sing? And then after you get that, then you have to arrange it for square dancing, and it's 7 parts, 64 beats each, and then you have to work with somebody that knows what they're doing. If you don't, you're going to have to instruct them how to make that music. And I'm blessed to work with, you know, a great guy, Michael Salacuse, and he does a lot of other labels too. So I'm not the only one that's using them.
Okay.
Once we do that, then it's a matter of you know, laying the vocals, maybe some background vocals, and then marketing it. So there's a lot that goes into each one.
Wow. Now, of all the, I used to ask people what their favorite singing call was, but I'm not going to do that, especially for somebody who produces it. What's some of your favorite ones?
My favorite singing calls? I love The Most Beautiful Girl on Acme.
Yep.
I love Take It Easy. I just recorded that with Philip.
Yes, that's very good.
I just released Tequila Sunrise, and I love that a lot. There's one on Sting that I do last night. Traveling Wilburys song that I love.
Oh, I haven't even heard that. I like the Traveling Wilburys. I have not heard that.
Yeah, you should look at that, because that's a great one.
Last night.
And Nothing for Nothing, Billy Preston on rhythm.
Okay. Nothing. Yeah, I'm on your email list. I get all when you have your releases, the pattern music and everything, when you put that out in your singing calls. So I look forward to hearing those all the time. Do you do any traveling around, or do you stay mainly in Arizona?
I travel a bit, but I'm not booked on calling outside of Arizona currently. I call for Saddlebrook. Maybe you've heard of Saddlebrook, right? With Saddlebrook Videos.
No, I don't think, not that I recall. No.
Have you ever gone online and seen the videos of the dancers doing all the calls, mainstream calls? And you can learn off of watching video.
But I will look that up. Saddlebrook.
Yeah, Saddlebrook has done that. They're the first ones to do it.
Okay.
And they've found, oh gosh, probably 20 years.
Wow. Okay. I had no idea.
Yeah, because the caller who started the club, I think they started producing the videos pretty early, and I would say about 25 years ago. They've been doing that. So those original videos are still online. You can learn how to square dance by just watching the videos of the people. So they're color coordinated, you know, each couple. Okay. And they take you through the call. And
I think I didn't realize. I think I know what you're talking about now that with the calls. I know what you're talking about. I didn't know it was called Saddlebrook. I have seen that on YouTube.
Yeah. Now there's other productions that have done that.
Right.
But Saddlebrook's the first one to do it. So I call for that club.
Okay.
I share that with Bob Asp.
Bob Asp. Yep. I got to talk to that guy too. I talked to him at the national convention, and I asked him if he would do it.
pray for Bob Ash, and then I heard healthy report back, so it's awesome.
In all the calling you've done, so you've been calling for a few years, obviously. Do any halls or dance floors stand out to you?
Halls, dance floors. Yeah, I mean, Saddlebrook has a gorgeous dance floor, their ballroom. I would also probably say a lot of the RV parks out here.
I was going to say, being in Arizona, have you ever done any outdoor calling? That's got to be nice.
Yeah, yeah. They have some gorgeous floors out here. So actually, where Flippo called is off of gosh, I can't think of the name of it. It's off of Mission. I can't think of the name of it, but anyway, it's beautiful.
When you're not square dance calling, so you play musical instruments, or you just draw artists? When you said you were an artist, do you actually play some instruments too?
I can play guitar. I'm not the best guitar player, but I think it's because I don't I have so many hobbies that I don't pick it up like I should. But I can play a little bit of the guitar.
I've spent when I say a little, I'm about 2 weeks. When we were in Arizona, we went out. We went out to, I don't know if we went to Phoenix. My son loves Phoenix. He was there. He went there for the Air Force, did some stuff. And but we spent a little time in Arizona. What do you do out there? I mean, are you a hiking guy, biking guy? What do you do for fun?
I hike. I still do hike, but I play pickleball.
Pickleball.
Probably 4 or 5 times a week.
Hey, okay.
Yeah.
So when did you pick that? When did you pick up, start doing that? How long's that been going
on? This is my 4th year.
Wow.
And yeah, I'm like pretty addicted.
Okay. That's great. Oh. Well, I've definitely got I get into movies and stuff like that, pastimes. Oh, one thing, if you're not listening to square dance music, what's your genre of music? What kind of music do you like? Not square dance.
It kind of has evolved a little bit, but I was raised with 80s rock and nice. 70s rock. And so I guess that's still my favorite is probably 70s rock, but now I'm maybe as I've gotten older. By the way, I'm going to be a grandpa.
Oh, congratulations! Congratulations!
No one's awesome. Supposed to know yet.
Okay.
But I think I've gotten a little more into like a little easier listening, and maybe you hear it in my music production. But I pay tribute to some of the stuff that I listen to being raised in Minnesota. My parents used to listen to Ray Conniff a lot. And Ray Conniff is a conductor.
Right.
And anyway, he did a version of Tico Tico. And I produced that as a patter in honor of my parents.
Oh, nice.
And, I've also trying to think of other things where I've kind of felt like I've mellowed out a little bit. But yeah, I'll produce any genre if I feel like it will work. And getting back, I kind of got off the tangent. I got a little winded there. I'm sorry, but
no, that's good.
Producing music, but I think the reason I got into it, a bit of ego, yeah. But I wanted to put a stamp on square dancing before I left. And I felt like not only would this help my creative juices, right? I could feel like releasing those, but I could also feel like I could put a mark on square dancing and affect other people, and hopefully get people into square dancing or stay into square dancing because of my music. And maybe that's more of the ego thing than ever, but that's what drives me is when I hear people, hey, I really like your music. I really love playing this and entertaining my folks with your music.
Yeah, that was a big part for me. That's what kind of turned me to the actual calling part of it. I danced for a lot of years, and it was the same. And I say same old music. I enjoyed it, the banjo and fiddle and bluegrass type music. But about, I don't know, 15 years ago, caller Ray Monty, who's passed away now. Yeah, I went to his dances all the time, and he played. And I was a huge country music fan at the time. And George Strait's "Unwound," and he put that on one night, and I was like, well, as soon as it hit, I was like, I know what this song is, and I said, man, this is, I didn't know that they had actual songs, and so that was really cool, and so I was like, man, I want to get into calling just so I can do the music I want to hear, so what you're doing with your label, putting out music like that keeps people in it, the dancers for sure, because then I started asking for it, and then I found out about record labels, and I go on and I see that, like Paul Cote, before he passed, when he had Ego, he was putting Journey music out, and I was like, man, Journey, that's all I want to hear. Yeah. Lord knows I'm not going to try and sing a Journey song, but because that is definitely not in my range. But so, well, man, I've got to ask you a couple things too. And this one, since you're living in Arizona, you watch a lot of movies, TV, anything like that?
I used to more, but now with my hobbies, I don't watch a lot of TV. My wife watches a lot of TV.
Well, living out there, you got, obviously, I don't know how close you are, but we're Tombstone, Arizona. So, Tombstone, are you a fan of the Tombstone with Val Kilmer, or the one Wyatt Earp with the other fellas? What's your favorite Tombstone?
I like the Kilmer better.
Okay. Yep. That's probably one of my top 5 movies for sure. Footloose or Dirty Dancing for you?
Dirty Dancing. I came to Tucson in '88, and Dirty Dancing was the most popular movie at the time. Okay. And so Dirty Dancing.
Nice. All right. And of course, how long have you been in Arizona all total, you think?
Well, this is my 3rd time back. I would say I've got over probably 11 or 12 years here.
Wow. Okay. If you could choose beach, mountain, desert, or plains, where you are now, or where you want to go somewhere?
No, I'm in the mountains, like where I'm at.
Okay. Very nice. What stuff you got coming up in the future? You got any? I know a lot of producers don't want to talk about stuff they haven't put out yet, anything like that. But dances or anything like that? What do you have going
on? I've got. I'm super stoked. I'm going to Germany.
Wow! When are you going to Germany?
Going to Germany September 12th.
Oh, that's right around. That's around the corner. Very nice.
I'm going on the tour with Tom Crisp and Tony Oxidine and Jet Roberts, and we are gonna have a blast.
That's a heck of a group right there, sir.
Yeah, it is. And I'm booked in outside Heidelberg. I'm calling for Philip Cam's club on the 20th of September. So Hang Loose Promenaders I'm calling for. So really looking forward to that dance and the whole experience of Oktoberfest. And
wow, that is going to be awesome.
It's going to be a blast.
I've never met or got to spend any time with Tom Crisp, but I've heard of him, obviously. Tony and Jet, awesome dudes, and haven't got to meet Phil yet. I did a podcast with him. I've met him on Facebook and what have you. Man, that's going to be a great experience. definitely when you come back, I'd like to talk to you again. Just find out about that.
Yeah,
You know, any of the overseas stuff that I hear about, whether it be Germany or Japan, that type of stuff, this, it's just, that's another world. I can't imagine doing something like that. The very precise calling that has to be done because of the language barrier. I get it.
Well,
So
Charlie, not really. Um, all the calls are in English, as you know, but also the pattern. So if you go over there, let's say you go over to China, all the Chinese callers their pattern will be in English as well. So yeah, it's pretty cool because even in most of Europe where you go, English is the second language.
Mhm.
It used to be, but it is now. So you go over there, yeah, there is a little bit of a language barrier because they're probably not as fluent as their native tongue, but
Right.
you can communicate, and certainly calling, you don't have to change a thing. The dancers in Europe are great dancers. They're probably a little younger. They dance a little faster. So really looking forward to it.
Very nice. Yeah, that's going to be a heck of a trip, and to spend time with those guys. I've been to a couple of schools and dances and weekends with Tony and Jet, and awesome guys. I've spent a couple of karaoke nights with Jet, and that's a whole nother world when you go out afterwards and you're at the karaoke.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah, he's they're all incredible.
Yep, absolutely they are. Oh, let's see. I'll make sure I got everything. Oh, I forgot to do this last night. I was talking to somebody. What level do you call at? Do you just plus A, C? Where do you go with your calling?
I call up through advance.
To advanced, okay. Of those calls, what's your favorite call? Do you have one?
Huh. Not really.
Okay,
What I try to do, pretty much all my dances is call all the calls.
all the calls. Very nice. Okay.
All the calls. I mean, like I said, I can be a little obsessive disordered on it, but I remember I would about 3/4 of the way through the dance, I'd be like, in my head, I'd be like, oh, I haven't called left chase, or I haven't called whatever. And I would make sure I would call it before the dance was over.
Very good. That's important. I mean, especially the newer callers out there. You don't want to get locked into the same 5 or 6. Once you get your little patterns, and I'll do that. I'll be halfway through the night and realize I haven't called a tag the line from anywhere, and I'm like, you got to throw a tag the line. It's just little things like that. Because I call up through. I just call through plus. So and then I'll spend the whole night and realize, man, I haven't even called a coordinate. I've got 3 tips of plus so far. So I
And
used to.
we all get in ruts, right? Where we're calling and we're like, God, I just want to resolve this and get the tip over because you're like your brain's fried or whatever. What I do when I get in a rut as I'm calling, and I'm talking about the pattern portion, right? Is I try to take away calls. So if I've called swing through too many times, I cannot call swing through for the rest of the tip. And it forces you to really get a little more creative. Because I've been a sight caller my whole life, so I create the dance as I go. Of course, I have modules too, like anybody else, that I can bring out of the bag at any time. However, I don't want to rely on my memory to get through a sequence. So if I feel I'm in a rut, I'm like giving myself a check and like, okay, can't call swing through anymore. Nay, nay, nay. And I find I tend to, really get a little more I get out of that rut faster.
Okay. Very good. That's one of the drills that I've done at some of the schools that I've gone to. They'll do that. They'll say that, you can't call swing through. And, you're just, and it's like somebody took all the words out of your mouth. You're like, well, wait a minute. If I can't call swing through, how am I ever going to get to a spin the top? Because that's what's got to come first. And they're like, no, you can do something else and get there.
Single circle to an ocean wave centers trade.
So that's a great. And I ask everybody if you have any advice for other callers, whether it be a new caller or somebody, that's been doing it for a few years like myself. Any words of advice? Granted, vary. How do you build your dances up? Anything else?
Just in the one aspect, I went to a caller school, and the subject was what is smooth dancing.
Okay.
And I guess when I heard that question, I'm thinking maybe that person doesn't need to be here, because I feel like if you're learning to become a caller, you better be a good dancer, right? Or at least you should know what good dancing is. Yep. That question shouldn't come up. You should know what smooth is. You should know what unsmooth is as well. And if it doesn't feel right, if it feels, and you got to think, if you're a female, you got to look at not just the female side, you got to look at the male side, and vice versa. And since the majority of the callers in the world are male, talking to the male callers out there, you really got to think about how you're moving the women around. Girls, women, females. Mm-hmm. If you're thinking just about the flow on the men's side, you might look at things a little differently and start thinking about the girls and what is their body flow. Oh my gosh, I didn't think about that. They just traded and I'm trading them again or whatever, Yeah. So if you don't want to spin people into the ground, you want to make sure the flow is good and the tempo is good and it's not too fast, not too slow. But I mean, there's a million things to think about, but if I were going to make a recommendation for a new caller, would be you really understand what smooth dancing is all about, what feels good and good body flow. And then when you come to a caller school, I mean, that would never be a question, because you know what feels unnatural. And if it feels unnatural, then wherever you experience that, you make a mental check that that's not the calls I need to call in order,
Gotcha. Okay. I got you. That is some fantastic words of advice, brother. I appreciate it. Man, I want to talk to you about Germany when you get back. So we definitely need to make a plan on that. You're going in September?
Going in September, yeah.
Ooh, that's right around the bend. Because I'd like to hear what that's all about. I've talked to a few people that have been overseas and called. But yeah, I'd like to sit down with you. Dean, I appreciate you doing this for me, buddy. Your record label's Arrowhead. You've got Tequila Sunrise that just came out, so I'm going to go give that a listen. And I am an Eagles fan, so my wife is a bigger Eagles fan than I, so I'll probably end up getting it just so something that she'll actually listen to me do. And we'll go that direction. Brother, I appreciate it, Dean. Hopefully we'll run into each other at a convention somewhere. Are you going to be in Wisconsin? I know that's way around the bend at this point.
Yeah, I think Nina and I are going to go to Milwaukee, yes.
Milwaukee? Okay, fantastic. Well, brother, I will talk to you before then, but I look forward to meeting you one day.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's been an honor to be on the show.
Absolutely,
and I appreciate all you're doing for the square dance activity.
Oh man, y'all are doing it with this advice. I tell everybody it's a free caller school for me, and you get to talk about yourself. So everybody wins, brother. It's been a pleasure. I'll talk to you soon, Dean.
All right, thank you, Charlie.
Yes, sir.
Bye-bye.